Good morning, everybody. It is a beautiful Friday morning. Week 3 of college football is quickly coming upon us. And Texas, for the first time in a decade, guess what?
We're back!
Like that, shut your bitch ass up!
In today's episode, we're going to be taking a quick review of the Bama and Texas game. We are going to be beating, stopping, and kicking the dead horse because there is a lot to discuss there.
Okay.
Then we will transition, look into a preview of the Wyoming versus Texas game tomorrow night. It will be Texas's first home game back since beating Alabama last week. Bevo Boulevard is going to be out of control. It's going to be an incredible environment. Texas is coming in at home, ranked in the top 5 for the first time in over a decade. A beautiful thing for college football, and we're going to dive right into it. So without further ado, let's get into today's episode. First things first, we have got to discuss Quinn Ewers and his transcendent performance that he displayed on Saturday. It was a thing of beauty. Not only did Quinn Ewers play the best football that he's played since he's been on the 40 acres, but he showed a side of leadership and maturity that we have been, as a fan base, waiting for him to display and show on the field. And he exuded confidence all night long Saturday night. And that confidence radiated throughout the entire team. Not just the offense, not just special teams, not just the wide receiver room, but yes, through that defense as well. Everybody fed off Quinn Ewers' energy, and you could feel it on the field. We know Quinn Ewers has the talent to be an incredible quarterback as far as physically. But that intangible leadership role that quarterbacks have to have in order to control their offense, that finally broke through and shone against Alabama. Against the toughest competition, in the loudest environment he has been in, Quinn Ewers stayed cool, calm, and collected the whole game and delivered a masterful performance. 24 of 38, 359 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, and he took off on some scrambles. He got himself a couple of good runs in, used his feet against Alabama and that D-line. One thing that we talked about in last week's episode that was a major concern for Quinn coming into this game was whether he was going to be able to quiet his feet in the pocket. One of Quinn Ewers' biggest problems as a quarterback has been his footwork. He has been very sloppy in the pocket, throwing off his back foot. Downfield passes suffered the most from that. That was something that was corrected almost to perfection against the best defensive line Texas is going to face all season long. Quinn Ewers hung in the pocket so often. First off, credit that O-line. 0 sacks given up. I think maybe 2 or 3 pressures total. Stunts being picked up, blitzes being picked up, all that shit that was being talked about the O-line's communication and there's a glaring problem. And I'll even say, even myself, I fed into the idea that Rice kind of exposed them. I had full confidence that in this week of practice, it was going to be drilled into their heads. The communication had to be better, and it 100% was. So because of the comfort that Quinn Ewers had in the pocket and the trust that he had that his guys were going to be able to keep the pocket clean and allow him to scan the field and complete those open passes, that was enormous, and it was essential to Texas pulling the game off the way that they did. So both the O-line and Quinn Ewers in the pocket were excellent last Saturday. I just want to talk about Quinn Ewers handling the moment in the loudest, most raucous environment going into number 3 Alabama's home field. He handled the moment so well. Even when Texas went down 16-13, it looked like we should have been, kind of running away with the game. We had a couple drop touchdowns, had a missed field goal, went down 16-13 in that third quarter. And Quinn Ewers, again, didn't bat an eyelash. He looked everybody in the face, said, let's go get it. We're going to go out there this next drive, and we're going to go get it. And they did. 3 plays It took them 70 yards, 3 plays, and a touchdown immediately after Alabama goes up 16-13. And then, of course, the defense gets the interception. We punch the ball in again the next drive, take a 2-score lead in a matter of about 2 or 3 minutes. It was all around. It was beautiful. And one thing, I think the outside of the leadership aspect, one thing that stood out to me above all else was that Quinn Ewers understood the game plan. Quinn and Sark, it's like they were one mind on the field. And it absolutely showed. Quinn knew exactly where the ball needed to go every single play. Now, credit that to Sark for getting him prepared, but credit Quinn for really diving into the game plan and understanding what Steve Sarkisian, what the Texas offense was trying to do to that Alabama defense. It was a masterful performance. It was a truly transcendent performance. And in my opinion, that game alone catapulted Quinn Ewers, if not into the top 5 for the Heisman race, he is right on the outside looking in. And as long as he can sustain that momentum going forward in the season and continue to play to that level that he played last Saturday, it's going to be really, really hard to keep him out of that Heisman discussion. Moving on. O-line. Dominated. I just want to take I have to take a second to commend that O-line. All of those guys did absolutely incredible against arguably the best D-line they'll face all season long, and maybe the top 2 or 3 defensive front sevens they'll face all season as well. Multiple NFL draft picks on that D-line, that front seven. Our O-line absolutely stonewalled Alabama's defensive pass rush. They were on their heels the whole game. And credit that to Sark's game plan. They didn't know whether we were running the ball up the middle, whether we were going to be using short passes as an extension of the run, whether we were going to be play action, over the top. They had no answer. When they tried to double Xavier Worthy, A.D. Mitchell is open over the top. When they try to cover A.D. and they try to cover Xavier, well, guess what? Jatavion Sanders, Jay Witt, open all over the field. It was really, truly a masterful performance on all fronts, from game plan to execution. The O-line was, in my opinion, easily the most improved group from week 1 to week 2. And I think that is very obvious when you look at the stat line. Like I said, 0 sacks given up, maybe 3-4 pressures maximum. Alabama's dominant D-line was rendered completely useless. One thing that I thought needed to be improved, even though we did good enough, was the run game and the physicality from the O-line in the run game. I think that's one area where Alabama's defense really took it to us, was in the run game. Now, we did enough. Like I said, we didn't need to rush for 150, 200 yards. We just needed to rush the ball enough to keep Alabama's defense and that secondary cheating up and keeping them honest playing the middle of the field. That's what allowed us to take deep shots all game long, was the fact that we were able to establish the run game just enough. And that's a credit not only to the O-line, but also to the physicality of our running backs, C.J. Baxter and Jonathan Brooks. Both of those guys, while they didn't run for a crazy amount of yards, they ran their asses off. They ran hard, they ran determined, and they were going to get first downs when it was needed. C.J. Baxter especially was running with so much force behind those shoulder pads. He wanted to hit Alabama's defense. Like, do you understand that? Our freshman running back, he's 18 years old, and every time he carried the ball, he looked like he just wanted to come and flatline Alabama defenders. C.J. Baxter's future is incredibly bright. Listen, not enough can be said about the workhorse mentality that Jonathan Brooks has. This kid is a physical between the tackles runner. He's determined. He keeps his legs driving. Now, he's not Bijan, right? He's not Roshan. Those two guys were very special players. Jonathan Brooks and C.J. Baxter in their own right have their own special traits and qualities about them that make them very effective running backs. And I think that showed in Alabama's game too. Like I said, they didn't do a ton, but they did enough to get the job done. And for 7 minutes in that fourth quarter to run the clock out, Texas ran the ball down Alabama's throats and asserted our dominance. What a way to end a stellar performance. We're running the ball at you, down your throat, and there's nothing you can do to stop us. Killed the clock for 7 minutes. Alabama doesn't get the ball back, and that's how Texas wins the game. I think we'll start to see CJ Baxter find his groove a little bit more, get his vision a little bit more antiquated, right? He's already got good vision. The game is starting to slow down for him, and you can see it even through these first 2 games. You see how patient he is with the ball in his hands. You see how he's picking his lanes, and he's not rushing to get to hit a hole. He lets the hole open before he hits it. So there's a lot of things from CJ Baxter that are improving. And then, of course, Jonathan Brooks. If Jonathan Brooks really could just catch the ball, honestly, I think he's probably arguably our running back 1. CJ Baxter is probably more talented, but Jonathan Brooks is an excellent running back. He just got to catch the damn football. It's like, I just don't get it. The ball hits him in his fingertips. But I'm not going to shit on him. He did what he needed to do to get us the win. And I'm happy with that. Now we can go discuss the wide receiver room. I'm going to make this very short and very brief because we could talk about this all day. But between Xavier Worthy, Adonai Mitchell, and JT Sanders, throw in Jordan Whittington, Isaiah Nair, who in the country has a better wide receiving group than the Texas Longhorns? I mean, you can argue Ohio State with Marvin Harrison and Emeka Egbuka. I probably butchered that shit, but whatever. Those 2 guys are very, very good receivers. And they may be ahead, just in general, of Texas wide receivers. But it's not that much separation. Adonai Mitchell is an incredible football player. That kid's body control and his intelligence and understanding of the game is incredible. It leaps off the field. His athletic ability absolutely leaps off the field. That pass that he caught on the sideline from Quinn Ewers, when we're backed up inside, I think we were like at the 7-yard line. Quinn Ewers just drops back. First off, throws the prettiest damn pass you could possibly throw. And the way Adonai Mitchell caught the ball, like if you see it, he never puts his hands up, right? Not until the last microsecond, and he cradles it. And never gives a tell that the ball is coming his way, so Kool-Aid McKinstry cannot make a play on it. Quinn drops the ball right over Kool-Aid's hands, toe taps on the sideline, picks up a huge gain. That play right there, outside of his touchdown catch, because the touchdown catch was incredible, but that play alone showed you how freakish Adonai Mitchell is. And you got to think, we have Isaiah Nair on the team. He's not even got a chance to play. This dude is a phenomenal wide receiver. He has not even got a chance to see the field hardly because of how good Xavier Worthy and Adonai Mitchell are on the outside, and then of course Jordan Whittington out of the slot. So those guys, they did incredible. Jatavion Sanders was not only immaculate in the pass game, he is a matchup nightmare. He can run against your receivers and your linebackers, your slots, your nickels, anything. He can outrun them. He can outroute them. He's more physical than they are. He's bigger. He is a nightmare. That kid, I love him. I absolutely love what he brings to the offense. It'll suffice to say that in my opinion, between Xavier Worthy and Adonai Mitchell, those 2 alone, we have one of the most potent offensive groups and wide receiver groups in the entire country. Moving on, we got to discuss this defense. Now, we knew they were good. We knew they were good going back to last season. They had some hiccups, had some blown coverages. Rice dominated. We did not know just how damn good this defensive front 7 is until Alabama. Texas whipped their asses up front. Now, we were getting gashed in the beginning of the game. Jace McClellan, I'm not going to lie, when the game started, he was picking up 6-7 yards a carry. And I thought, holy shit, Alabama's O-line, they're more physical than I thought they were. That's what I thought. Because I looked at Alabama. I looked at them when they played Middle Tennessee State. I watched their run game, and I thought, this O-line is big, but these guys are not very physical. It's not like they're just blowing Middle Tennessee State off the ball, and these guys have got way smaller players than what we have, than what Texas has on that front seven. So when they came out and started gashing us, it was cause for concern. And then I worried, okay, well, if the straight run game is going to gash us, once they throw in that read option with Jalen Milroe, that could be a problem. Coach K said, hold my beer, shut the up. We're going to get this shit corrected. In one quarter, I don't even know what he did. And the moment they changed, Alabama's run game was rendered completely ineffective. Completely ineffective. Jace McClellan and that group only had 107 yards rushing at the end of the game. And from the second quarter on, I don't even know if Jace McClellan touched the ball more than 5 or 6 times. We forced Alabama to throw the football because they could not run. And that is exactly what the game plan called for. Get Jalen Milroe into passing situations and we will win the game. Now, Jalen Milroe's a freak-ass athlete. Dude's a monster. He's huge, 6'4", he's 220 pounds. He's faster than Cam Newton, but he's big like Cam Newton. Of course he went out and made his plays. Played some backyard football, made some great throws. His deep ball, hey, you got to give it to him. For as bad as he is at reading the field and throwing intermediate passes, his deep balls are perfection. We forced Jalen Milroe to become a passing quarterback, got 2 interceptions off of him, one almost returned for a touchdown. After Jaron Thompson gave up the touchdown to Jermaine Burton, was watching Jalen Milroe stare down Jermaine Burton again. Stepped in front of the pass, almost took it back for 6. It was great. Defense played absolutely incredible. Anthony Hill and Ethan Burke played out of their damn minds. Ethan Burke is a revelation. Where the hell did this kid come from? We saw some plays from him last year, but we did not see Ethan Burke just dominate the line of scrimmage. Not saying that he dominated the line of scrimmage the entire time he was in the game, but he made some massively impactful plays. He got a couple of sacks, probably should have had a couple more. The D-line in general, Broughton missed a sack. We probably missed like 3 or 4 more sacks, and we had 5 sacks in the game. We could have had 7 or 8 easily. I told y'all last week, Anthony Hill is a dog. When that kid is tracking down the ball carrier, it's scary. He is legitimately scary. He's fast as hell. He's 6'2", 225, 230 pounds, playing linebacker and coming off the edge, and he's faster than you. He literally, I'm not even joking you, I'm not trying to go hyperbolic, but he reminds me in so many ways of Michael Parsons. Positionless player. That's one thing that has become dominant in the sport of football is positionless players. And Anthony Hill fits that mold. He can play linebacker. He can come off the edge. You can play him in space. He can play in pass coverage. He can rush the quarterback, which is what I think that he'll probably be doing on Sundays because the kid is just a natural pass rusher. He's got a great bend, and he's got great instincts. And more than that, he got that dog in him. He wants to go out there and dominate. I think that's all of the defense. The whole defense played with so much confidence. They just seethed with confidence. It was oozing out of them. They were not intimidated by Alabama in any way, shape, or form. Jalen Catalon in the run game was incredible. He was coming up and smacking the shit out of players. That dude coming in, fitting in the run game, his intelligence in the pass game as well set us up for success all night long. Jalen Catalon did well. Jalen Ford, he had an iffy game. I'm not going to lie. Jalen Ford, he could have played a little bit better. He had some really good plays. Nearly had the interception that ended up being called, ended up being caught for a touchdown by Jermaine Burton. Hit Jalen Ford in the hands. You know, that is what it is. It happens. But there were other plays where Jalen Ford was getting reached by linemen, especially in the run game, and he's kind of getting blocked out. So there were some things that he could have done better, but overall, I thought he played a very solid game. We had 2 interceptions in that game, one early by Jahdae Barron, and then one late by Jaron Thompson. And that one by Jaron Thompson, in my opinion, was ultimately the biggest play for defensively of the game. We go up 20-16, very next drive, we get the pick, take it all the way down to the 4-yard line, and punch it in from there to go up 2 scores. Massively influential play on the game, so kudos to Jaron Thompson for that. Byron Murphy is the most disruptive defensive lineman that we have. He's in the backfield every damn time he's on the field. It's actually crazy. He's huge. Between him and Tavondre Sweat, I don't know who's going to be able to run the ball on us. I really don't. And then we're finally getting that edge pressure that we've so desperately been looking for out of Ethan Burke, and then of course out of your already proven, not elite, but pretty damn good pass rusher in Barron Sorrell. And now Anthony Hill coming along, getting those reps in at the edge. Listen, the sky is the limit for Texas, defensively especially. With all that being said, my takeaways from the Alabama game regarding Texas. Number 1, again, y'all can argue with this all you want to. Texas, in my opinion, has, if not the best, the absolute best offense in the country, top 2 or 3. The defense will win the Big 12 championship and get us into the playoff. Write this down. Mark it. September 15th. It's 9:24 a.m. Mr. MoBetta says Texas's defense is going to be the reason down the stretch why we ultimately win the Big 12 championship and get into the playoff. Mark my words. The wide receiver room, in my opinion, unstoppable. You can't play zone against them. You can't play man against them. So what are you going to do? Running back room, ground game, still needs improvement. Again, it was adequate. To be fair, it was adequate against probably one of the best, if not the best, defensive fronts in the country. But it has to be better. We have to be more physical. We have really big guys, just like Alabama did. And I thought we were more physical than Alabama's O-line was, which that was supposed to be the, shining spot of their team. Oh, Alabama's O-line got punched around like a bunch of little girls. Anyway, I digress. We were adequate, but we need to be better. And I think we'll get better. I think we'll get, as the confidence of the O-line improves, especially after what they did against Bama, as their confidence improves, they'll get more dominant and more physical. Because I think really physicality is just a mindset. It's just a mindset of confidence and dominance. And I think that's slowly coming along. I know we're beating a dead horse. It's been a week already. It's week 3 coming up. Forget about Alabama. On to the next week. But you cannot deny how impressive of a performance it was. With all that being said, Alabama was a great win. How does all of this factor into Wyoming? Let's go ahead and move into that. We'll pivot this. I'm going to keep this very short and sweet with Wyoming because there's not really a whole lot to talk about. Wyoming has got a below average quarterback in Andrew Peasley. Now I'll give it to him. He's a gritty player. He reminds me a lot of Baker Mayfield. I haven't really seen that comparison drawn to him, but he's like the Walmart version of Baker Mayfield, right? He's got a weak arm. He doesn't see the field very well. He's good at getting out of the pocket, scrambling. He takes way too many hits. I'm pretty sure the dude has CTE already at this point. The amount of hits he's taken through 2 weeks. Andrew Peasley, C- quarterback at best. I think Texas defense is going to have an absolute field day with him, not only in the secondary, but I'm just going to say it. This is not to, I'm not trying to shit on Wyoming, but they are a very unathletic and uninspiring bunch of kids. They don't impress in any way, shape, or form. So they have an unathletic O-line against arguably the best defensive line in the country. I think we know who's going to win that battle. Their running backs are small, twitchy. I'll give it to them. They're small and twitchy, but they're not very good. They have poor vision. They have poor running balance. They have poor shoulder pad height, and they fumble the ball all the time. So it's going to be a little bit rough for them. The wide receiver room, I mean, you have to have a quarterback that can throw to you. They have a wide receiver, number 5. That kid is pretty good. He's like a little joystick. I don't think that he's really going to be a factor in the game, simply because he's not going to have a quarterback who can deliver him the ball. Defense, very unathletic, slow. Their front 7 is They have a good defensive tackle in number 94. I think their linebacker is like number 23 or something like that. He's okay, but I just think we're at a completely different caliber. And I get what they did to Texas Tech. They came back and won, which for the life of me, I don't understand how the hell that happened. But it did. That's just because, in my opinion, Texas Tech sucks ass. They're terrible. I don't care what they did against Oregon. The team sucks. So I'm going to just leave it at that. So defense, unathletic. I think it's going to be a very rough day for them. I would not be surprised to see on both sides of the ball for Texas, we get a lot of freshmen playing. This feels like an Arch Manning game. I'm just going to say it. First off, I want to see Malik Murphy get in the game. I want to see Malik Murphy play football. Now, that's not because I think he's going to take Quinn's spot. I think Quinn has solidified his spot as a starter. But that is going to be an interesting quarterback battle going into next season. And Wyoming is a game where we can really see Malik Murphy and Arch Manning kind of duel it out with no repercussions, I think. By no means do I think Wyoming's going to keep it close. I would be surprised if they come within 21 points. That being said, I'm going to say Texas will go on to beat Wyoming 45-17 relatively easily. We'll get to see some young guys get in the game and kind of see what they can do. But for now, that's going to be my synopsis, my review of the Bama game, plus my thoughts on what happens against Wyoming. I think Texas is going to run away with it, and it's not going to be very competitive. And I think they start to run away with it early, get some young guys in there, and get to see what they can do. All right? So there you have it. Again, Texas in the top 5 for the first time in over a decade, going into DKR to play Wyoming. Texas has a very bright future ahead of them for this season. With that being said, I'm going to go ahead and let you guys get out of there. Drop a comment. Let me know what you guys think about the team so far, what you think about the analysis. Do you agree with what I've come out and said? Do you disagree with anything? Let me know. I'd love to get y'all's opinions on it, and maybe we can discuss it in the next video. But for now, that's going to do it for me. I'm your host, Mr. MoBetta. This is the MoBettaSports Show. And remember to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you aren't already, turn on the notification bell so you never miss an episode, because no matter where you look, there's no better place than MoBettaSports for your latest football takes. I will see you next time. Hook 'em.